I want to start this video by saying thank you so much for everyone's support since Friday's video. You guys are literally fucking amazing. Thank you so much. Find out everything about that video there. I'm basically talking about the fact that YouTube is changing all of their thresholds, and unless I get to 1,000 subscribers, they're punishing all small creators and not allowing monetization on videos, which, love it or hate it, it's a huge way that small influencers help to reinvest in YouTube and stuff and make it better. I'm not going to bore you with details in this video because I really want to get into testing two really amazing foundations and tell you which one I think is best. But please do take 5 minutes to watch that video and subscribe to my channel, because it really does mean the world to not only me but to every small influencer out there that are really just doing this as a huge passion and being basically penalised for doing so. So yeah, please do watch that video if you want to find out a little bit more and kind of why I think you're all so amazing. And if you subscribed to my channel in the last couple of days, thank you so much. You are literally the best. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, because it really does help me out so much. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm going to talk about two very exciting foundations. So as you can tell by the title, I'm testing out the two ordinary foundations, one of which is the Serum Foundation and one is the Coverage Foundation. Now, these were huge in 2017. You know, everyone's talking about them. Not only are they incredibly affordable, but The Ordinary has kind of just taken over the market in terms of affordability, just like amazingness. The way it works is so good, and it's making everything accessible to people. When they basically came out with loads of skincare products first of all, and then later on in 2017 they launched two different foundations. Now, I bought the Serum Foundation, I believe it was Black Friday actually, and I got it from Beauty Bay, and the Coverage Foundation has been out of stock for literally months. I really struggled to get hold of this. It was only until after Christmas did I actually finally add this to my collection. So I've been testing out the two. I was just genuinely curious myself, and so I thought I'd make a video all about my thoughts and feelings. I've worn the two several times on different occasions, so I feel like I can give a true overview. I'm going to put them on my face, tell you why I think they apply differently, and then I'll tell you about where and which types of skin, which skin types they perform better on. So without further ado, let's get onto it. I'm just going to put my hair back a little bit. So, hair is up, and I'm going to start with the Serum Foundation. Now, just to let you know, I got the same shade in both of them. It's 1.2Y. It was basically light yellow undertones, which is pretty much my skin type in a nutshell. I really like pale foundations, but they do need to have a bit of a yellow undertone because my skin is generally quite red, but my neck and my body are more whitish. So I need something that's gonna match like the rest of my body. So I'm gonna start with the Serum Foundation because this was the first one that I bought, and I'm gonna apply it to this side of my face. And I've obviously zoomed you in so you can see it a little bit better. With this one, I always shake it a little bit before. It is quite runny. I don't know if you'll see that, but it literally runs down my hand. If I just apply this to this half of the face. So you can tell it's very yellow, which I actually think is quite a difficult task for cheaper foundations to actually be really yellow. So to apply, it's obviously, because it's quite a liquidy formula, I'm going around my eyes and eyebrows because I kept those on. It is very runny and it feels quite thin, and like it does gather around the hairline, so you always do have to work. I normally just kind of push it into my hair to blend it in. Probably shouldn't do that. But overall, it's quite a nice colour. So that has kind of applied. It looks really weird when I do half and half. But in terms of the way it applies quite nicely. I would say it's slightly patchy just because of the consistency. I've got a couple of patches underneath my eye, kind of in my nose. It does gather a little bit. It clings onto mild dry patches, which to be honest I didn't moisturised before I put this on, so that's probably why. But I feel like it does need quite a bit of work, and one layer definitely isn't enough. I would go in with another one, but I do kind of let this set a little bit and then I will go in with another. So to contradict that, obviously that's one layer. I'm going to use the other side of my beauty blender, and I'm going to use the coverage foundation. Now, like I said, this is the second one that I added to my collection. Wipe my hands a little bit. So this is it there. It's a lot thicker, still slightly runny, but not as runny by any means. And it's just, and it's obviously made to be thicker because it's got more pigment. And already, I don't know if you can see the two, but this has so much more coverage than this side. So that's the coverage one, and with one layer, it obviously has so much more coverage. To be honest, I wouldn't go over that with a second layer, because if there's anywhere that I want extra coverage, such as the bags under my eyes, I would do that with concealer. So basically the main things in terms of application is that the coverage one is a little bit thicker, not only like in your hand, even though it is still slightly runny. When you apply it, you do notice that the way that the pigment sits on top of your skin, it does need a bit more moving around, whereas the serum one is a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, so it doesn't require that much movement. And not only that, the coverage one I feel like doesn't set as quickly. You've got a little bit more time to work around with it, whereas with the serum one, I feel like due to the nature of it being quite thin and therefore clinging to my dry patches, I feel like I need to move quite quickly. And the coverage one hasn't like sunk into any lines, whereas this one has definitely gone around my nose and slightly like around my mouth. Anywhere where it's slightly textured, I'd say it's kind of clinging on there. So what I'm going to do to make it slightly fairer is that I'm going to just put another pump of the serum one, just so that they're slightly matching, because that's what I would normally do. If I wore the serum one in the daytime, I would normally go over and have 2 layers with it. Okay, so now that that's applied, I'll just zoom you in just a little bit quicker so you can see kind of what it looks like actually sat on top of my skin. So I'm not too sure if you can actually tell on the coverage side, but I feel like it does like sit on top of the skin. It looks a little bit too cakey, whereas with the serum one, I guess I feel like by adding a second layer, you are, again, it's looking a little bit cakey. It's almost sitting on the skin instead of actually in the skin, if you know what I mean. Once it's all on my face, I do take the MAC Studio Fix Powder, and then I lightly tap that all around my face. As you can tell, I only went in once with that, and it can provide extra coverage, but kind of loosely applying it all over does just help to really set the foundation. And this is kind of my go-to powder on every day. So that's what I'm just doing now quickly. This is literally like my foundation shade and is an ideal shade for me because I have such red undertones of my skin. I do need something quite strong to make sure they don't come through. So yeah, this is it applied, and to be honest, I like both of them. In terms of application, the coverage one is definitely my favourite, and that is just because you don't need as much product and you've got a little bit more time to work with it. And so because you've got a little bit more time to work with it, it doesn't cling to dry patches, even though you'd probably expect that more from the coverage one than the serum one. I feel like the serum one is a little bit too thin. That said, I use it all the time for no makeup days. I normally just do one thin layer and use it more like a BB cream. It's got quite good coverage, but you do need to layer it up if you want it to match the consistency and the coverage of the actual coverage foundation. To apply, the coverage one is definitely my favourite. However, once on my skin, even after one layer, I feel like the coverage one does look a little bit cakey. I feel like the perfect mix would almost be the both of them mixed together and applying that all over the face, and it would be perfect. But In terms of just like literally application, the coverage one is my favourite. The serum one does take a little bit more work. However, you need to be a little bit more quicker with it. So I would recommend putting little tiny like dots and then working your way out with it and just working quite fast. You don't have that much forgiveness when it comes to the serum one, which is surprising because you'd think that that one would be the one that you could kind of be a little bit more gentle with, and it would give a little bit of a lighter coverage. So that's it in terms of application. Now, when it comes to wear, so I have a very oily skin type, which means that I often struggle with excess oils. I have done for years, and it's so frustrating. So I always find that a bit of a foundation test with how long it lasts without needing to repowder throughout the day. So the coverage one actually sat really nicely on my skin for about 6 hours before I felt like I needed to top it up with powder, which is actually quite good considering the price point of these foundations. I think they're like £5.95 or something. I may have made that figure up, but they're definitely not more than £6. So I feel like the coverage one sat a lot nicer on my skin. However, the only thing I did notice was, you know, on your nose where it kind of comes away and you've got like slight patches. I found that was the only real issue with the coverage one. Other than that, it actually performed really well. I did need to blot at about 2 p.m. This is considering I get ready at about 7 a.m. So I would need to blot about 2 p.m. Without blotting, it did just make it look a little bit too kind of like I was wearing a lot of foundation, even though I wasn't, because I'd only go round with one layer of it. It did look like I was wearing a lot of foundation even though I wasn't. The serum one, on the other hand, is like my go-to when I'm either just popping to the shops or me and Rich are going into town but I don't need a lot and I probably won't bump into many people. It's my like fail-safe for when I'm not really doing a lot. I wouldn't wear the serum one to work only because it gets quite dewy throughout the day. You would expect that from a serum foundation, so I'm not expecting a totally matte foundation, but dewy foundations on my skin tone, I feel like just look like a bit of a greasy mess. When I first got the serum one, I thought I can't wait to wear it to work, and as I put it on, I like literally looked in the mirror at about midday like, oh my god, this is a disaster. It just didn't really sit very well. Even once you powder it, it doesn't really save it. And the fact that it kind of clings to my dry patches, I don't have many dry patches at all. And that's when, again, it can look a little bit cakey, even though it should be the sheerer one of the two. So if I had to pick a favourite, I feel like I would choose the coverage one, only because I could wear it to work and know that it will be okay minus the like patchy nose syndrome. Other than that, it will be okay, and you know, it's a bit of a fail-safe, even though it is slightly cakey, and I really don't like cakey foundations because that's when you look like you're at school and you've put way too much foundation on. We've all been there and it was not a good time in our lives. So I have other foundations that are better, and so to be honest, neither of them are like breakthrough products for me. What is really good is the price point of them, and again, like I said, you could probably mix the two and get a perfect coverage and consistency. So that's something that I would actually probably recommend, and I am going to try it after this video. But in terms of like just the way they are, they're not anything special. I feel like I'm going to get a little bit of hate for saying that, but I'm going to be completely honest on this channel, and neither of them kind of scream amazing to me. You know, my Estee Lauder Double Wear is my favourite foundation ever. It is expensive, but you know, I know that that is a fail-safe, and neither of these are like perfect for oily skin. That said, I think if you had dry skin, the Serum Foundation would actually be quite good, minus the fact it clings to dry patches. It would be really interesting actually, because the dewy consistency of it is actually very nice and it looks very healthy, and that's why I said I wear it for no makeup days. If I didn't like it at all, I wouldn't even wear it then, because you know, I have so many different foundations in my collection that I should probably use before they go out of date. So I wouldn't be too bothered, and because it's so cheap, I could probably throw it away or give it to someone that would actually get better use out of it. So I do like it enough to keep hold of it, which is really important, but not like the best product ever in the world. And even saying that, I really do like my Garnier BB creams and CC creams. I feel like they actually work a little bit better for my skin type. and the coverage one's good, but I have better coverage foundations. The only thing that I love about this foundation, and this has to, you know, come into this video, is the fact that they are so pale but have such a good yellow undertone. The foundation itself is creased under my eyes, even though I've set it with powder. That's a coverage one. I've not got that with the serum one. Once powdered though, the serum one does settle down very nicely. It just doesn't last very long. If it stayed like this for the duration of the day, I would probably prefer that one. But just because it's better on oily skin, I would say the coverage one. And I would obviously say that if you're on a budget, they're definitely well worth trying. Then again, I also feel like you could get better foundations from the drugstore. Like, they're really good, and the fact they're like £6 means that actually anyone could try them. And you might actually try it and think, oh my god, this is like my new holy grail. You know, it goes without saying that a product that I don't necessarily get on with massively might actually be your favourite, so I'm sorry if it is, but just personally and like to personal taste, neither are like groundbreaking for me. So yeah, that's my verdict. If I had to pick just one of the two, I would definitely go with the coverage one, even though each of them have different qualities. And yeah, I definitely recommend trying them out, just because you don't lose much if you don't like them. And yeah, I really hope that you've found this video useful. If you have, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys really, really soon. Bye guys!